The film begins with a frustrated young woman named Hannah, who, despite her best efforts, struggles constantly with weight loss and a dysfunctional relationship with food, pulling her back every time she tries to make progress. A trainer named Alana approaches her at the gym and suggests she enroll in a 12-week program, and though Hannah is hesitant at first and keeps her distance, Alana is persuasive enough that she eventually agrees. The next day, Hannah is at medical school, where the class is practicing incisions on cadavers, and she glances down and notices that the nail color on one of the bodies matches her own polish exactly, prompting her to go straight home and remove it. That night, her friends take her out for her birthday, and her friend Nikki points out a woman across the room who keeps looking at Hannah and encourages her to go introduce herself, but Hannah is too shy and tries to leave instead. The woman comes to her, revealing herself as Melissa, a classmate from high school who is almost unrecognizable because she has lost a dramatic amount of weight and carries herself completely differently. Melissa attributes the transformation to unapproved and fast-acting pills called Grace, and though Hannah is skeptical, she takes some and has a genuinely great night. The next morning, she wakes up expecting to have gained weight after eating so much, but she steps on the scale and finds she has actually lost a few pounds, prompting her to message Melissa immediately, asking about the cost. Melissa tells her it is $5,000, which is completely out of Hannah's reach. And that same day, her mother shows up at her apartment and installs a security camera to monitor what Hannah eats and drinks. Hannah spends the rest of the day turning the pills over in her mind, tells Nikki about Alana and the gym program, and then, unable to stop thinking about the pills, decides to run a proper analysis on them using her medical school's resources. What she finds stops her cold, because the active compound is sodium and phosphate, revealing that the pills are made of human ash. She tells Nikki, who tells her Melissa is disturbed and that Hannah should stay away from her entirely. But because she is a medical student with access to human remains, Hannah takes a rib bone from the school, processes it into ash at home, and after a long moment of hesitation, consumes it. The next day, she joins Alana's gym sessions and begins moving forward on 2 tracks simultaneously, working out regularly while continuing to take the ash she processes herself. That night, while making coffee, she sees something reflected in the curve of the kettle, a figure. But she dismisses it as a hallucination from the pills and keeps going. She keeps eating freely, keeps going to the gym, and builds a genuine connection with Alana along the way, while the weight continues to drop. One day, Alana is so impressed she posts about Hannah's progress on her Instagram, and that night, Hannah sees the reflection again. But this time she tries a regular flat mirror and sees nothing, because flat mirrors show her only herself, while convex surfaces tell a different story. She picks up a spoon, and there it is, a figure she recognizes from school, a ghost the students once nicknamed Bertha. Hannah's mother visits again, and announces she is finally taking a trip she has been planning for 25 years, asking Hannah to look after things while she is gone. That night, Hannah falls asleep and dreams of Bertha floating above her, drifting slowly downward toward her face, and though she wakes up shaken, she pushes it aside. She keeps attending sessions and eating whatever she wants, and the weight keeps coming off. But Bertha's presence grows stronger in parallel, not just in Hannah's mind, but throughout her apartment, around her food, and in the edges of her daily life. At a routine check-in, Alana is unsettled by how rapidly Hannah is losing weight, and presses her to stop whatever method she has found, warning her it is damaging her body. In the tense silence, Hannah confesses she did it to impress Alana, but Alana says nothing and walks out. Hannah goes to a supermarket in a fury, fills her cart with junk food, and back at her apartment, she sits down and a snack bar slides across the surface toward her, prompting her to hesitate before eating it. After which an entire bag of food appears, pushed by Bertha's hands, and Hannah eats it all. The next day, she tells Nikki she is quitting the gym, and during a dissection at school, she studies the cadaver more closely, and determines that Bertha died of cancer, affecting her lungs and stomach. That evening, Alana stops by after their argument to check on her, and the following day, Hannah visits her mother's house and delivers supplies to someone there, a man whose identity remains unclear, then returns to the gym, where Alana is visibly relieved to see her. In the changing room, Hannah notices unusual marks forming on her stomach, and Alana pulls her aside to apologize for how she handled the confrontation, telling Hannah she pushed back only because she cares about her, which closes the distance between them and leads to a kiss. Hannah decides to stop the pills and start fresh, so she throws out the junk food, prepares real meals, and puts them in the refrigerator. But while she sits nearby watching her phone, the fridge door swings open on its own, repeatedly. She looks through the spoon and sees Bertha growling back at her, prompting Hannah to run to her bedroom, where Bertha follows and reaches the bed, until Hannah screams at her to stop, causing Bertha to halt. Hannah snaps back to reality, and finds the door hanging open, and everything around her in disarray. And at school, Melissa texts her to meet up. Hannah tells her directly that she knows what is in the pills, human remains, and asks Melissa whether she has been seeing things, to which Melissa admits she has felt watched inside her own home, but says the feeling faded once she stopped taking the pills, telling Hannah to get checked. Hannah goes to a doctor and is told she has a small benign tumor in her pancreas. And later at school, she zones out during a dissection, beginning to operate on Bertha's liver as though performing a real procedure, and only snaps back when she realizes everyone around her is staring. Nikki pulls her aside afterward and tells her to stop the pills immediately. And that night, Hannah cannot bring herself to go back to her room, going to the library instead, where she zones out again, which frightens her so much that she goes directly to Alana's home, where the two of them spend the night together. At midnight, Hannah snaps awake into chaos, finding the room a mess around her, and overcome with embarrassment, she gets dressed and leaves. But on her way out, she catches Bertha's reflection in the mirror, directly behind her. She runs to the nearest store, fills her arms with food, and drives to her father's house, where she locks herself in a room. But Bertha comes for her anyway, moving through the glass to get inside. Hannah realizes suddenly that Bertha is hungry, so she tears into the food and eats as fast as she can, which finally settles Bertha. Before sleeping, she sets up a camera in the room, and in the morning, she reviews the footage and watches herself get up in the middle of the night to eat, including, to her horror, consuming body lotion with no memory of any of it. Horrified, she tries to make herself sick, and when she looks in the mirror, she can feel her bones beginning to show through her skin, because the weight loss has gone far beyond anything she intended. Her father knocks on her door because he has made pancakes, so she takes them and sits with him, and in their brief exchange, the distance between them becomes clear, as Hannah resents him for how little he seems to care about himself or about the people around him. When he tells her he is still here, she tells him she is not going to wait around with him until the end. And then she checks her blood sugar, which reads 7.5. She goes to Josie and says she needs help because she is losing weight far too fast and something has to change. And though Josie says she told her not to take Melissa's pills, Hannah tells her the truth, that she made the pills herself from Bertha's ashes, leaving Josie revolted. Hannah tells her that Bertha has latched onto her in a way that goes beyond the physical. And to demonstrate, she hands Josie some spoons, explaining her theory that Bertha appears in convex reflections whenever her glucose level drops below 6. She exercises deliberately to bring it down, and Bertha's figure begins to emerge in the spoon's curve. But Josie cannot see anything and starts suggesting Hannah speak to the school psychologist, until the objects around them begin moving and falling on their own. Hannah explains what she has pieced together, revealing that the more calories she absorbs, the more weight she sheds and the stronger Bertha becomes, noting that with Melissa, the haunting stopped the moment she quit the pills, because the pills alone were the connection. But with Hannah, it runs deeper. During class, Hannah steals her professor's access keys and tracks down Bertha's official file, discovering her real name was Grace, and the sister tells them the cancer began as something almost invisible, a tiny mark on the pancreas, exactly where Hannah's tumor is now. Hearing Grace's story through her sister, Hannah understands why she attached to her, as they share the same wound in the same place. And to break the connection, Hannah believes she needs to return everything she took, which is the ash itself. She goes back to her apartment to retrieve it, but her mother has arrived in her absence and cleaned the entire place, visibly shaken by how thin Hannah looks, and asking whether she is all right. Hannah searches frantically, but her mother has moved everything around, leaving the Tupperware empty because she threw out what she thought was dust, forcing Hannah to run outside and dig through the rubbish to recover the ash. Then her stomach begins to cramp, and she runs back toward the building as she feels Bertha drawing close behind her, reaching her apartment only to find almost nothing in the refrigerator. Her mother has been looking at the medical scans and asks why Hannah never told her any of this, and though Hannah tries to explain it is not serious, she notices something in the scan she had not caught before. Before she can process it, Bertha crashes through the door and throws Hannah's mother to the floor, so Hannah drags her into a room and shuts them in while Bertha tears through the apartment, hurling everything she can reach. Bertha seizes Hannah by the hair and pins her down with an immense amount of pressing weight, because Bertha has grown enormous. But Hannah grabs a bottle of cleaning liquid from the floor and swallows it, and the shock forces Bertha back. Hannah grabs what she needs and runs, drinking an enormous quantity of juice from a store on the way out to keep her glucose up, and she steals a staff card from a locker room at the university to get into the medical lab. She takes Josie's phone and locks it in a cell to stop her from calling anyone. And then Hannah enters the lab alone and tells Josie to trust her. She inhales something to dull the pain, because she is going to operate on herself, reasoning that the ash transferred Bertha's cancer to the exact same location in her own body, and that removing the tumor will sever the bond between them. Josie is completely opposed, but because Hannah has run out of other options, she asks Josie to stay close and make sure she does not bleed out. Hannah brings her glucose down deliberately, causing hallucinations to begin, as she sees Bertha's body nearby start to move, and she finds herself encased in plastic sheeting, surrounded by all the garbage she threw away, until everything comes back. She tears free, pulls herself out, finds a scalpel beside her, and begins the procedure. But then Bertha appears directly in front of her, forcing Hannah to race to finish before Bertha can close the distance. She cuts the tumor free, but Bertha seizes her anyway, and twists her wrist, until in the next instant, Bertha is gone, lifted away above her. Hannah sees a vision of herself from before, younger, looking down into a bin, and she smiles at that version of herself, right before Josie's hand connects with her face and brings her back. Hannah survives, and Grace's body is finally cremated properly, and sometime later, Hannah paints her nails the same color she saw on the cadaver at the beginning, as an act of acknowledgement, rather than fear. The students hold a small ceremony to honor the people whose bodies became their silent teachers. And afterward, Hannah goes to Alana, carrying bags of groceries to replace everything she consumed the last time she was there. Alana does not want the groceries, but instead wants the truth, and wants to understand what has been happening to Hannah this entire time, so Hannah tells her, allowing the two of them to find their way back to each other. Finally, Hannah comes back to herself mid-bite, and as she looks down, she experiences the ultimate horror of realizing exactly what she has done.